Hello, and today I'm going to show you how to make one of these hanging chicken decorations. You'll need a crochet hook, scissors, a needle to weave in the ends, and obviously some yarn. I'm using Nurturing Fibers Eco Cotton double knit yarn, which is 100% organic yarn from South Africa, and with that I'm using a 4mm crochet hook. You can obviously use whatever ply yarn you would like, which will result in a bigger or a smaller chicken, depending on whether you use thicker or thinner yarn. Obviously just use a hook size that works with that. So the chicken that I've made, I made using the color Karoolands, Sunglow, and Sunglow is the yellow and Bordeaux the red. You can obviously use whatever colors you want. So let's begin. You'll start with a magic ring. And then you're going to make 12 double crochets into the ring. I start by using a standing stitch, if you will, which is worked in the following manner. I'm going to start by making a single crochet into the magic ring, and then I'm going to insert my hook through the same single crochet from the front to the back and make another one. And once this round is finished, I'll show you, it's virtually undetectable as a different stitch. It looks almost exactly like a double crochet. I'm using US terminology. So I'm going to make 12 double crochets into the magic ring. So now I have 12 double crochets, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yes. So once you've got your 12 double crochets, you can close the magic ring, pull it quite tight. You can adjust this once you've finished all the rounds that make the body of the chicken. But having a tiny little hole is not that big of a problem because it makes it easier to insert the thread for hanging. So now, as you can see, you've got the 12 double crochets, and this is your starting crochet, a double crochet. For those of you who are new to crochet, note that the stitch that you're going to work into is slightly behind the post of that stitch. So these two loops here belong to this double crochet, which is the third, 1, 2, 3, third. So the first front and back loops of the first double crochet, which is the stacked stitch, are these two loops, and I've made them a little bit tight, so just excuse me while I wrangle my hook through there. You're going to close the ring or the round with a slip stitch, and I pull my slip stitch quite tight and then pull a loop up which is quite a little bit longer. Now you're going to make another stacked double crochet. So a single crochet, insert the hook from front to back through that stitch like you would normally. Now I'm going to pull this loop a little bit. Right? I have to do that first. So pull that loop a little bit longer than you normally would. Insert your hook from front to back, pull up a loop, and there's your double crochet. And now you're going to make 2 double crochets into each stitch around, which will give you 24 double crochets. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 double crochets, slip stitch to closed, pull that quite tight, and there's your second round. Now the third round, again starting with a stacked double crochet, insert your hook through the front of the single crochet, and I didn't pull the loop longer again, so pull that loop a little bit, insert your hook again from front to back, and there's your first double crochet. Now you're going to make 1 double crochet into the first stitch and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So you're still increasing. You're going to do that every second stitch. So 1 into the next stitch and 2 into the following. That will give you 36 double crochets. Let's just count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6. No mistakes there. Right, so you can close your round with a slip stitch. There you go. Now you're going to fold this over. You can tighten the magic ring a little bit more if you want to. Make sure this yarn is inside, and now fold your piece over so that the wrong side is facing inwards. And now you're going to basically make the tail feathers and join the 2 halves so there's no gap. Start by making 3 chains, and then you're going to make a single crochet into this stitch, that the first stitch and basically last stitch of the round. Pull your yarn through, and there's your first stitch. And now you're going to make 5 picot stitches, okay, with a single crochet in between. To make a picot, you chain 3, and then you're going to insert your hook into the first chain that you made. I always do it through the bump at the bottom of the chain and not through the top, because I just think that it looks neater. So there's your first picot, and now you're going to make a single crochet into the next stitch, remembering to use both sides of the fabric. Next picot, and a single crochet. This is the third picot, and another single crochet. Picot number 4, always 3 chains and then a slip stitch through the first chain, single crochet in the next stitch, and the last picot, 1, 2, 3 chains, slip stitch, closed, and single crochet. Let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single picots and the chain 3 at the beginning. And now you're just going to continue by making single crochets all along the edge, making sure that you grab both the yarn from the front and the back, the stitches, sorry, from the front and the back, and you're going to close the body off completely. And the last 2 stitches look a little funny because they're so close together, but just look for the stitch on the left and insert your hook and you'll get both of them anyway. Right, and that's the body done. Cut the yarn, pull the yarn through the loop, and then just weave in the end straight away. It makes it easier with this because there's a lot of ends to be woven in on this end of the chicken, because that's the head side. So just put the needle through the stitches through the single crochet stitches that you've just worked, and run it along for a little while. This is how I weave my ends in. Don't pull too tight. If you pull too tight, you're going to lose this stitch. And then I'm just going to run it down one of the double crochets and then insert it through the V at the bottom, and just again go along a little bit. And then I'm not going to cut it now. I'm just going to weave the yarn, well, not weave, but just insert the yarn into the center of the body, come out somewhere, and then cut the yarn, just so there's a little bit extra inside the body. Okay, so this is the wrong side. Obviously this is kind of double-sided. It does look a little bit different on the, oh sorry, you can't see that. It looks a little bit different on the back side, or if you will, on the right side compared to the left side. Yeah, the front. This is the front and this is the back. You can see it more specifically on the legs. The join looks a little different on the back to the front, but you can hang it whichever way you want, so it doesn't really matter. But you're going to turn it around again to be working on the front side with regards to the direction that you were working the single crochets on. Turn it upside down, because obviously that's how you're going to insert the stitches, and now count 1, 2, 3 stitches from the last picot. That is the stitch that you're going to be working in. You're going to take the yellow yarn now, or whichever color you choose to use for your legs, and you're going to attach the yarn, leave a tail, with a slip stitch. Yeah, this kind of could count as your first chain stitch as well, so it technically, yeah, it's a slip stitch, but you're going to chain, so you're going to chain 4 now. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, well, one more, 5. So you have 5 stitches, 4 chains and the starting slip stitch. Now you're going to chain 3 more, and the reason why I made it in told you this in 2 steps is because you're only going to be working back on the last 3 chains that you've made. So you're going to turn your work around, and into that very first bump of the chain, of the last chain that you made, you're going to insert your hook. Helps if you just use your thumbnail to get the hook through. Then you're going to make a slip stitch, and you're going to do this through the next and through the following as well. So you have 3 slip stitches going along the back of 3 chains. Now you're going to chain 3 again and repeat the same process. So into the back bump, slip stitch, 1, 2, 3 slip stitches. And then one last time, 1, 2, 3 chains, slip stitch into the back bump, 1, oopsie, 2, 3, and then you're going to work the same way into the, make sure that the chicken is facing the correct way so the tail feathers are under your working hand, otherwise you're going to twist the chains. And also just check that they haven't twisted while you've been working on the foot. So you'll have like 3 larger gaps here. You're going to skip those. So well, the first one has the yarn going through it. So skip, skip, and then you're going to work 5 more slip stitches back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then into the starting slip stitch. 5. Slip stitch into the next stitch, and this is just a slip stitch, and now you're going to chain 5 again. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to repeat the same process again for the feet. So chain 3, slip stitch into the chain 3, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, slip stitch. That first one is always a bit tricky, so do use your finger to get the hook through. Chain 3, slip stitch, skip the 2 large holes, and then 5 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slip stitch into the same stitch, and you can kind of pull that a little tighter just to secure it. Cut the yarn, and weave in the ends. I generally take the yarn, the 1 yarn end that's at the front, and take it to the back through the same stitch that you've worked through, and then make a double knot. Just to secure it, and then I simply do the same thing that I did with the brown yarn. Just run it along the single crochets that you made, and then pull the yarn to the inside, and that's pretty much all you need to do. Because this is obviously not this isn't a toy, or well, with an amigurumi toy, I do the same thing. I weave the end in a little bit through stitches, and then I just take it to the inside of the toy and back out again at some distance away from that, and cut the ends. So there are your legs. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the, what are these things called on the chicken, the waddle or something like that. Anyway, the red bits. So you're going to take your red yarn, or whatever color you choose to use. Where's the beginning? There. Okay, and again, make sure that you've got it facing the right way, so the tail end towards your working hand. Count back 4 stitches from the last stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert your hook, slip stitch the yarn to the body, and you're going to make a picot. 1, 2. You can use the starting slip stitch as your first chain, and so chain 2, insert your hook into the slip stitch, and then you're going to make 2 slip stitches across the next stitches. That's where your the beak is going to be attached, and it's just I do it this way because it just saves you from weaving in 500 ends. So then slip stitch into the last stitch, chain 3, and make another picot. Then you're going to slip stitch into the stitch again, chain 2, and you're going to make 3 double crochets. 2, 3, chain 2. Oh wait, did I make? No, I only made 2. Sorry. So just, right, let me just show you that again. So slip stitch into the same stitch, chain 2, and make 2 double crochets into the same, this all goes into the same stitch, chain 2, slip stitch into the same stitch, and 1 more picot. So 1, 2, 3, slip stitch into the last, into the first chain, and then slip stitch again, and then you can cut the yarn. Pull the end through, and again, this is one of the few projects where I weave the ends in before I take the next color, just because it's easier with all the, it's not as fiddly, because this is obviously quite a little project. So yeah, you would just have too many yarn ends in one area. The way that I do this now, because you can see there's quite a big gap here and here there isn't, I just insert the needle into the stitch here between the stitches, in the stitch, and pull it out, and then go all the way around the base of the double crochets where they enter into that one stitch, and just tighten it up a little bit, and then go through that same stitch again and just pull it, and there's the hole is not as big anymore. That's obviously the wrong side. You can pull it a little bit more. There you go. And now just weave it in a little bit as before. One too many. And again, double knot it with the other end. I don't usually do this with any of my projects, but with this, because it's there's not very much space to weave your ends in the same color that you've used, you can't really weave your end in here. So that's just to double secure it, because I don't really want to weave the ends in too much in the brown section, because you can see it a little bit, and I personally don't like that. If you don't mind that, then by all means go ahead and weave your end in without making the double knots. But I'm a bit fussy like that. go. Okay, so now all we have to do is do the beak, make the beak. Okay, so with your hook, insert it into the stitch with the first slip stitch. If you can't see it from the front very clearly, look at the back. It'll be the one where you can see the stitch still. So that one. There you go. Attach your yellow yarn, again with a slip stitch, chain one. Now you're going to do a double crochet two together. So you're going to start with the way that you would do a double crochet, but you're only going to work off 2 loops. Then you're going to yarn over again for a second double crochet and insert that into the next stitch, and then you're going to finish off the double crochet and chain 2, slip stitch into that same stitch and cut your yarn, pull the yarn through the stitch, insert the needle into that same stitch to bring the yarn to the back, and then just again knot the 2 ends. Don't do it too tightly for the first knot that you're going to do, otherwise you're going to get the beak out of shape too much. Okay, and then again, just, I mean, you don't really have to weave the end in, so I'm just going to move it into the middle. There you go, 1. And oops, check that it's not coming out on the front side, and 2, there you go, oopsie daisy, and just cut. So now we still need to make a little eye and attach the hanger. I did that with red yarn, so for the eye I just cut a little length, don't need very much, thread it onto your needle, I'm just wetting it a little bit, the end, so that the little fibers are easier to or get onto the needle. Sometimes they don't want to. I usually fold the yarn over and run it along my needle really tight, like pulling it, and that usually flattens it out quite a bit, but because this is quite a hard twist, and because it's cotton, it doesn't flatten out as nicely as a wool yarn, for example, would. So, got it all. Okay. So now it's kind of up to you where you want to place the eye. I do it on the second double crochet from the top. So insert your needle from the front, from the back to the front, and just do that twice. Make sure that your end at the back is not too short. This is almost too short, this end, but it'll do. And then again, knot. And then I don't even bother weaving this in anywhere. I just take my crochet hook, insert it through some of the one of the double crochets, well, between some of the double crochets, and then pull the yarn through. Oops, there's a yellow end coming out. And a brown one. There you go, gone. Come on. Oh, no. Okay, doesn't want to stay in there, so sorry for you, but you're just going to get cut off. I think these scissors aren't that great anymore. And cut this one. So there's your eye. And now for the hanger. It depends on you how long you want to make this. I think I made this one a little bit too long for my liking, so this one I've made, I'm making shorter now. So the easiest way to do this is to, again, thread it onto your needle. Oops. No, this one doesn't want to. Let's try that again. There you go. Okay, and then you just go in through one of the, between one of the double crochets, insert it through the magic ring, and then insert it back out through the magic ring immediately. Don't pull too hard now. The needle end usually gets stuck a little bit, so do need to pull a little bit. If you pull too hard, obviously you're going to pull the yarn back out again. And then you're going to just make a knot. Oh, I think this is a little bit too short now. Make a knot. Pull it tight, and then there you go, and there's your chicken. And there's the brother. I think I actually only did one double crochet in this one, so this one's got a, oh no, this would be a sister, wouldn't it? If it was a brother, it would be a rooster, which would have a different tail. So anyway, so yeah, I hope that was usable, that you understood it. For those of you who use UK terminology, a double crochet in US terminology is a treble in UK, and a single crochet is a double crochet. So in case you just wanted to know that. But other than that, everything is the same, and obviously you would have seen from the video that which stitch I used. So yeah, that's the end of the tutorial basically. Enjoy making your chickens, and please do, if you post them on Instagram, tag me in them or hashtag a bag full of crochet. That's probably better, because that way I will definitely see them. If you get too many notifications on Instagram, you end up not seeing all of them. So hashtagging is better, because it stays there. If you look through the feed, you can find it. Okay, so cheers until the next time. The next tutorial I'll be doing is the scrappy lace blanket square that I'm using for my scrappy blanket. Until then, cheerio.